I saw some people speculating and talking about how Cayo Perico from Grand Theft Auto 5 was Rockstar testing freedom of choice in missions. And this is what they said. This is a Reddit user called Excel9700, and he says, "I'm not a big fan of GTA Online, but Cayo Perico was always a bit intriguing to me because it felt unlike most of the other missions in GTA 5. Those of you who have tried Cayo Perico would agree that this DLC feels much more like a proper sandbox compared to any of the story missions. It is the first time we get so many choices in approaching a mission. They give you a specific goal of robbing the place and getting the locked up artifact and let you let loose. There are so many entries, exits, obstacles, station guards, and even mini challenges for good measure that you can choose for your approach. It makes each playthrough slightly different each time, and it lets you learn the map a lot better over multiple playthroughs to figure out the best approach to it. If you discuss it with other players, you have a slightly different story of how the mission went. It's not nearly as in-depth as a game like Metal Gear Solid 5, but there is a lot of potential. It felt like Rockstar testing the grounds for this kind of gameplay in the future. The Cayo Perico DLC remains popular. If GTA 6 implements a story mission structure like this, where players are given a bit more freedom of choice and less of the brutally restrictive structure they had in GTA 5 and RDR2, the missions are still great, but you have zero space for creativity, it would make the game so much more immersive and replayable. There's definitely a lot of agreement in the community that the mission structures of Rockstar games could benefit a lot from being a bit more sandbox-like as opposed to a very restricted on-the-rails experience. What do you guys think? Now, before I go into the replies of other people, let me tell you my personal experience and what I think of this idea of more freedom in missions. And by the way, if you haven't subscribed yet, I'm trying to get to 7 trillion bazillion gazillion subscribers. Here's my opinion. I have been playing a lot of Grand Theft Auto story modes in the recent past. I have played GTA 4 all the way through in like a week, and now I am doing GTA 5. And one of the things in mission structures is that there is actually not only a mission structure but also an act structure. So the story is divided into different acts, kind of how Red Dead Redemption 2 is divided in different chapters, and allegedly GTA 6 might have this too, as we have recently heard. Now, there are a couple of story mission types that mostly come back in every GTA, even in San Andreas, where I feel like all of that has kind of started. There's always one mission somewhere in the beginning where you have to go through the entire area that you just unlocked. For example, there is this mission in GTA San Andreas where you get into San Fierro and you have to pick up all these guys that are going to be your crew for the garage business that you are starting. And then you go to Las Venturas and you have to get into a monster truck and you go and do a little tour with that monster truck to get to know that kind of desert area. And in GTA 4 it is the same, where you have to follow somebody, and those are kind of the most boring missions, where they introduce you to an area by you just following some other like NPC vehicle and then eventually just killing them or whatever. And my point with all of these missions is that's like a staple of the GTA missions where new areas are unlocked. And I feel like things like Cayo Perico does this 100 times better, where there's multiple options and more of a objective based mission structure that's freely available to do however you want. I love that way more than just follow this dude, right? Or go here. And I also think if you have those missions where you just have to follow and go somewhere, you're just looking at the minimap the whole time, and so you're not really taking in the scenery. And if you're doing a objective where you can choose like 4 different ways to do something, you're gonna figure out where you want to go and how you want to get there and what's the best way to get there. Especially with an island like Cayo Perico, where there's places that you cannot go, otherwise you're gonna get caught. That was super fun to me because it's also really challenging. challenging. And so I really like this mission structure. What I do think is that it's not necessarily always good. I mean, what GTA 5 and also Red Dead Redemption really showed well is that if you have set piece missions, which is, you know, what I call those types of missions where, for example, in GTA 5 you have the famous boat mission with Jimmy trying to sell that boat and it's getting stolen. Well, that is what I call a set piece mission, where there's some pre-scripted thing that's super fun, super cool that you have to do, which is very specific and you have no creativity at all because it's so specific. I appreciate those missions too, but if you're gonna get very specific and there's no room for free creativity when it comes to the player playing the mission, then you better have a big old fun set piece making up for it. Like, for example, this shot right here where Lucia's fighting the She-Hulk character, that is a set piece mission where you probably only have one way to get into a plane and sneak into there. Maybe there's different ways, but once you're in that plane and you're getting caught, if you're getting caught, maybe there's a different way you can do the mission where you don't end up in this situation specifically. But once you're fighting with that chick, there is no room for creativity, but it is one hell of a cool mission. So, you know, there's ways to think about this, and I think Rockstar has probably cracked the code on how to do this, or they're just, as they always do, experimenting with new ways to make things very fun. So that is kind of my opinion on it. Let's go to what other people are thinking of this idea. And a user called Bring Back Dream Bars, I don't know what dream bars are, but he says, I'd love to be able to do things like prep missions and side missions organically from free roam. Something like if you have a mission to scout out a location for a heist/assassination, you can go there in free roam and that counts towards the mission. I'd also like it if some approaches/styles were locked behind having to either search for things or use your own knowledge to complete. For example, the usual way is to quote-unquote hack a door open to access an area, but if you listen to conversations between staff, you'll find a way to access their break area out of the view of cameras to get a badge and open the door. Now, somebody else called Knotzil elaborated on that, saying, I think Rockstar agrees with you. The latest DLC offered new ways organically in free roam, somewhat close to what you described. With the salvage yard, there were some of the prep missions scattered around the map which you can start up at the location when you arrive. And with the Agents of Chaos update, they removed the need to go to your quote-unquote building to start whichever prep work needs to be completed. Instead, you can just use your phone. Ideally, doing free roam prep missions work similarly like in story mode, where it spawns the objective organically on the map and just by going to them, you start them. Might be difficult to design for multiplayer though. And I do agree with these things like prep missions. I think they're good for certain types of missions. I don't want all of them to be that. I think again there is a fine line to have a lot of prep missions and then also predefined set piece missions. But something that I do really love is the different approach and styles that they were talking about, where you can either hack a door or just listen to a conversation of the staff. And because all the NPCs are so lively in GTA 6 from what we've seen, I think that that is a really organic way to almost put an Easter egg in there that reveals a different style or approach for the mission. I really love those types of things. Somebody else called Only for $9 has a different take. He says, hot take, I don't like the new structures of missions. I much prefer it when it was a linear path to follow because it allows Rockstar to fully focus on one path instead of many. There is a reason the first heists always stick out to me, because they follow that linear structure. I mean, Pacific Standard feels like a movie, and I don't think it would have been nearly as impactful if Rockstar had us choose the paths ourselves. Freedom of choice is great, and multiple pathways makes for more replayability, but it's much more impactful for a mission when it goes exactly how the developers intend for it to go. That first time experience will forever beat replaying it for me. And this is why I'm saying there should be a very fine line where when you have a mission or a bunch of missions, there needs to be a decision made if this is gonna be be a linear mission or a free mission where the player can do whatever they want. And I think the mastering of knowing which one should be applied to which type of mission is the most important. I think, to go back to what we were talking about at the beginning of the video, where you are introduced to a new area, instead of driving, you have some objectives that you can do. That is perfect for multiple ways and a non-linear freedom way of doing a mission, because then you eliminate the boring just drive part and you get to know the map by completing different objectives. And then when there are some more important story beats that you need to follow that have missions that are set piece missions, as I call them, then you have a more linear approach. That is my honest opinion, but let me know what you all think in the comments below. I would love to hear this, man. This is a great topic for conversation. Thank you for watching. Thank you to Set Life for 20 for providing all these memberships, and see you next time. Bye bye.